Hi everybody, welcome to today's NBS webinar, Transforming Specification Writing with NBS. We're going to try and do today's session in just less than an hour. Everyone on the call's microphones are muted, but please, as always, put comments in, ask questions using the box on your screen, and we'll follow up after the session. In terms of today's session, we're going to start just looking at NBS Chorus, just the basics in terms of how you write a specification. Then we're going to look at some of the collaboration features, how you can work with colleagues, how you can work with external consultants, manufacturers. And then finally, we look at some of the latest features in the Chorus premium version of the platform. Joining me today, going to come in at various stages. We've got Peter Rhodes, National Sector Manager from Dulux Trade. Dulux are a long-time customer of NBS on NBS Source and also the sponsor of today's webinar. And then it's fantastic to have Patrick Crocock and Ruth King from AHMM, who are actually the practice we did the very first NBS Chorus customer story with sort of 4 or 5 years ago. So it's really fantastic to go back to AHMM and look at how they're using a Chorus Premium. So if you come to the NBS website and you come to platform, and in the NBS Chorus area here, you see plans and features. You'll notice that Chorus, in terms of the software functionality, comes in 3 different plans. You've got the sort of the basics, NBS Chorus, then NBS Chorus Pro, and then NBS Chorus Premium. So the first part of the webinar, we're just going to do a brief sort of from starters, how you'd use NBS Chorus to put together a specification, edit it, and then publish it. So jumping across here, this is NBS Chorus Cloud Platform. I'm going to come into this project, Newtown High School, and what I'm going to do is create a specification from scratch. So I'm going to come to Add Specification, button on the top right. I'll just let's call it Basic Specification. And then what I'm going to do is choose my NBS content set. So as well as choosing the plan in terms of the functionality, when you subscribe to NBS, you also get all of the content, template specification clauses, drop-downs, guidance that's authored and maintained by our technical authors. So for this example, I'm just going to look at the common arrangement of work section library for the UK. But you can see if you're interested in our USA, Canadian, Australian content, please give us a shout. So yeah, UK course content, and that's set up the specification, and it's asking me which sections I'd like to add into this project. So I guess most watching the webinar are familiar with common arrangement of work section structure for specifications. When we look at AHMM later on in the webinar, we'll look at the unit class content, but just for the basics, we're going to show cores. You can see from groundwork, concrete, masonry, structural, different sections are all here in the tree view, or you can search for them as well. So let's just open up one of these, and I'll come and we'll add in, and we'll go for the stone tile section. And you see I've got subscription to all the libraries, so I've got a small works version for your smaller, simple projects, and also the full version here as well. So you click plus, it adds in to the job. You can also do the search. So if I search for green roof, you got green roof there. That's the 2 different ways of sort of adding content to your spec. Search for it or browse it. And if I open M40 here, you'll see that you've got a full set of template specification clauses in the center of the screen for you to edit and make project specific. And on the right hand side, you've got technical guidance. What I'm going to do is just change this to compact view to get more content on the screen. But you can come through these clauses now and fill in the ones that are relevant for your project and cross out the clauses which are not relevant for your project. So if I've got no natural stone tiling on my project, you can just come and click the P for park, and that's going to sort of get rid of that clause, not relevant to that project. I'll get rid of the mosaic, and I'll get rid of the floor finish materials. And then you can come in and if a clause is relevant and it doesn't need any changing, you can just click the tick box, and that includes that clause on your project. And if it's a clause that has decisions to make, you can come through and sort of fill in the clause as you come through. So I could come in here and sort of type in and fill it out. If you want to add additional items in, you can come and put new rows below as well. And then when you think you've finished the clause, you can click that tick box to say it's complete. So if I come here, you'll notice I haven't filled in the box here. So when I click tick on this one, it says a little bit of a warning here, a little bit of a QA. So now you sure you want to mark this as complete because it has empty values. So I could say actually no, and then come back in and fill in this. And you get a sort of full formatting options here like bold, italic, hyperlinks, bullet points, and you can even add in things like tables as well. So you can make the specification clause look as you wish. You can cross out individual clause items as well. You can come and bring those back if you want to bring it back. But yeah, you've got the guidance from NBS, you've got the template clause, and then when you're happy, you save that and just tick it to mark it as complete. And what you'll notice there is as I tick that to mark it as complete, or if I park something off that's not relevant, the decisions on this little pie chart at the top of the screen get made. So you can see now I've made 6 of the decisions, 64 decisions to make in this work section. Let's just jump across and look at a work section that's already been completed. So here's completed section, it's the same one, sort of M40, 70 out of 71 decisions have been made. And if we have a little look at this, you can see there's a nice mix of specification clauses defining the quality of the products themselves. So ceramic tile to the following British standard for the following manufacturer. And if we just do a sort of slow scroll through the page here, you can see you can come through, you can click the drop-down value suggested from NBS. We're going to come through now and complete this now. 71 out of 71 decisions have been made. There's clauses here talking about things like the samples that maybe you'd like to see before the contractor goes and starts installing the products. And then there's clauses here in terms of the execution all the way through to things like the inspections and system completion requirements at the bottom of the specification. And all the way through, you've got that help from NBS on the right-hand side. So you create a specification, you add content to that specification from NBS, make it project-specific, and then the final stage is to publish the spec. So I'm going to come through here. If the only thing that was happening on the job was some tiling, I've just got M40 here, but more typically you'd have lots of sections, and you'd come and publish those. So actions, publish the specification. I'm going to do this very quickly, but I'm not going to save it. You can put sort of values on the cover page and things, say what revision it is, put some notes, and then that's going to generate a PDF, professional looking PDF with the specification that's ready there to either be priced up by the quantity surveyor alongside the drawings or sent out as part of a sort of tender package. So let's have a little look at what that specification looks like. So yeah, you've got a little cover page here, there's a table of content, and there's the specification with the decisions that you saw me make in the editor. So that's the sort of workflow for NBS Chorus, basic workflow. What we're going to do for the rest of the webinar is look at some of the features in Chorus Pro and Chorus Premium. So I just want to highlight some of the Chorus Pro functionality. So I'm going to come back into that same specification. But if I come to the top here, so this is the project itself, Newtown High School. What you can do with Chorus Pro is invite users from outside of your organisation. So here I've got my colleagues, Kate, David, Alan from NBS, all working on the same specification. But I've also invited Patrick from AHMM into this project as well. So realistically, that could be the client or the QS or one of the other designers, or it could be specialist consultant on things like fire safety or acoustics, or it could be, as we're about to find out from Dulux Trade, it could be one of the manufacturers that you're working with. And you can create a number of specifications in a project. So if I did want to, say, work with a paint systems manufacturer, I could create a specification called paint specifications and then just invite Dulux Trade into the paint specification and hide away the other specifications. If you're working with an external collaborator who you don't want to see everything in a project. You might have noticed that when I was working on M40, alongside the NBS guidance on the right-hand side, we had the org notes which came up, and that's where you can create your own guidance to share across everybody in your practice, which give good tips on what you've learned from previous projects, maybe which manufacturers you like to specify, maybe some notes that link to your intranet, and maybe things that you don't want to do that haven't worked out well in the past. And you can also come in here and add spec notes in as well. So this is a bit like adding comments into a Word document or notes into a Adobe Reader. But the notes here that you see on the spec notes are just for this project, whereas the ones in the org notes go across every future project. And then the guidance there is from NBS. And of course you get all of the manufacturer content as well from NBS source. So for tiling here, M40, we've got 565 different products from 9 or 10 different construction manufacturers. So popping up there, and you see you've got tiles from like lots of different manufacturers, all with specifications that you can drop straight into your project spec. We are going to look at revisions and masters with AHMM, but the idea with masters is you can take the NBS baseline and make it more specific to your organisation's use. So you're starting with a specification that's maybe 80% complete. So we're going to look at all of that in a moment. We'll have the collaboration features with Dulux Trade, and then we'll look at some of the Chorus Pro features with the AHMM, and with the AHMM we'll look at some of the Chorus Premium features as well. And what we're going to do at the end of the webinar is just send this link through as a reminder. And if you're a Chorus user and you're tempted by Chorus Pro, you can come and have a little look at those features, and vice versa. If you're a Chorus Pro feature, have a little look at Chorus Premium. But we'll leave that there now. We're going to jump across and speak to Peter Rhodes from Dulux Trade. Over to you, Peter.
Yeah, thanks for that, Stephen. So thanks everybody for inviting me along today. My name's Peter Rhodes. I'm the National Sector Manager for Building Design at Dulux Trade and the Dulux Decorator Centre. So paint the future, our story. You'll find us everywhere because AkzoNobel is a truly global paints and coatings manufacturer. We service our customers with a portfolio of leading brands, including our UK brands such as Dulux Trade, Sickins, Armstead, Cuprinol and Hammerite, and all through the Dulux Decorator Centre stores. So when you think about it, our coatings are everywhere and we all come into contact with them on a daily basis. They're on trains, planes, in our cars, in our homes, your workplace, even on your mobile phones. In fact, you can find our products within 1 metre of wherever you are, even in the desert, well, as long as you've taken your mobile phone with you. So we're a truly global paint and manufacturer. Our company purpose, Paint the Future, has 3 key pillars. We produce more durable solutions in a more sustainable manner. We help our customers to become more sustainable, and we empower our communities and our employees. As a company, Dulux Trade and the Dulux Decorator Centre provide a complete 360-degree service on projects, from supporting specifiers in the design stage, to support and working with the main contractor, to then the painting contractor, all the way to handover and ongoing maintenance of that building. For ourselves, it's all about helping everybody involved in delivering a project, getting it right first time, maximising efficiencies and minimising waste. What I'd like to do now is take a quick look at NBS and our overall services, because specification is at the heart of everything we do, from new build construction projects through to refurbishment and cyclical decorations. And NBS is a critical platform for ourselves, allowing us to provide specification support for our team of over 50 technical and specification managers, with services such as bespoke specification writing in NBS, M60 finishing schedules checking, sustainability, compliance and advice, BIM models, and something I'll talk about in a minute, that collaborative specification writing. So now let's take a quick look at our products in NBS Source. As I mentioned previously, NBS is a critical platform for ourselves because we're committed to providing architects and specifiers with the best possible service, and having our painting products and systems on NBS Source is the way we feel we can achieve this. It means our paints are more accessible to architects and specifiers. They can easily find and compare our products, which will help them make those informed decisions about which products to specify for their projects. For us, the filtering function in NBS Source is fantastic, as it allows specifiers to choose the correct Dulux paint required to suit the required finish, providing specifiers with all of the information they require in a language they want. In addition, having the ability to filter to identify key sustainability information is key, and this is an area where we've really heavily invested. Specifiers can easily filter our products and systems to view by those which offer the relevant technical data, be it EPDs, third-party accreditations, or embedded carbon data. Through this comprehensive checking features, specifiers can maintain the integrity and consistency of their specifications. Add to this the function for specifiers to download those key documents to support their project. One thing I'd like to do now is actually take a look at a project where we work collaboratively with an architect. Here's an example of a complex project where we supported architect Glancy Nichols in writing the specification for them in NBS Chorus. The project had to achieve BREEAM Outstanding, so the selection of the right products was key to achieving the requirements needed for BREEAM, but also ensuring the performance of the products met the actual client's needs. Following a briefing meeting, Glancy Nichols invited me directly into the master project, allowing me to write the specification for them, ensuring that all the products specified were BREEAM compliant and also had that performance criteria needed. This gave Glancy Nichols the confidence that the painting specification was really robust and reduced the risk for them in terms of the correctly specified products to match that substrate and building use. As you can see here, moving down the sections, the products that make up the system are all included with all the detailed information. By inviting us into the project, we were also able to add key execution clauses to ensure that the correct preparation is carried out by the contractor, along with guidance to the correct application. To further support the drive for sustainability, we're also able to advise the appointed contractor on the ability to recycle empty paintings through the Dulux Decorator free can recycling service, and the ability to recycle any waste paint through our partner, Community Repaint. For me and the Dulux, collaborative specification writing is something we offer to all specifiers for NBS, where they can invite us into that project and allow ourselves to write the specification for them. And specifiers I work with love the fact that we're able to provide this service through NBS. And something I would hugely recommend to all specifiers, and that they should engage with manufacturers in utilising this service. I'm also really excited to share that we have recently launched our Dulux Decorator Centre Specification Hub, a complete online resource and services hub for specifiers. The hub is specifically for specifiers who require support and specification advice across multiple sectors. And as part of our commitment to specification collaboration, we've also integrated NBS Source to allow specifiers to view our products in a language they prefer, and it also allows them to add them products directly into their NBS Chorus specifications. Some of the other resources available on the hub are specification guidance and advice by sector, full product specification integration with NBS Source, sustainability and compliance documentation, design and colour consultancy and advice, colour sample supply, some of our innovative digital tools for everybody to use, M60 master specifications by each sector, and the ability to book your RIBA CPDs. And I would really recommend that those on this webinar take that look at our new hub, because there's some fantastic resources available which would really help everybody in that specification process. So for me, thank you so much for taking the time and listening to me today, because our expert team are always on hand to assist you, and we really look forward to working with you on the next project. So Stephen, back over to yourself.
Okay, hi there. So for the final part of the presentation today, we haven't got any PowerPoint slides. This is just going to be a conversation, sharing a few screens with Patrick and Ruth from AHMM. So fantastic to have you both join us. Maybe first yourself, Patrick. Could you just introduce yourself and your role at AHMM?
I'm Patrick Crocock. I'm the specification lead at AHMM. I'm 7.5 years now at AHMM. Before that, I worked with Foster and Partners in their specification team, and previous to that with Davis Langdon, Schumann Smith, who were taken over by ACOM. I'm probably writing specifications for 25 years in total. So yeah, I just look after our office masters with Ruth. And we do a Q&A exercise where we do technical peer reviews of all the specifications before they go out. Basically, we just look after all the ins and outs with design responsibility and the levels of spec that need to be written and at different work stages.
And I guess NBS open on the screen every day.
Absolutely, 100%.
Fantastic. And also joined today by Ruth. Hi, Ruth.
Hiya. I'm Ruth King from AHMM. I'm a senior architect and specifications specialist. I've been with the company about 5 years and in the technical team for 2. And I have been using NBS Chorus for about 5 years on and off. And I help Patrick in the technical team provide advice to all of our project teams, setting up office masters, looking at design responsibility. And we also run surgeries every month to help teams further as a CPD kind of affair.
And how many architects do you have at AHMM, Ruth, that sort of receive support from you, Patrick, and the team?
There's about 300 of us now.
Yeah.
Across a couple of different offices. So I'm based in Bristol, Patrick is in London. We also have a Madrid office that we work with. There's an Oklahoma office as well.
Oh, fantastic.
And we just set up a new office in Sydney, in Australia. So
Excellent. That project homepage in Chorus looks absolutely fantastic. How many live projects do you currently have underway?
Well, there's currently Chorus has 84 projects on it. 82 use Uniclass and 2 use the common arrangement. So this is basically just the main page that we have. So I suppose I could start by showing how we start off using our projects. So we have a masters page. These are different collaborations that we've had with different sub-companies. that have done like written specific masters for us. So we have different levels. We've got a stage 3 outline masters set up in packages. We have a stage 4 outline, stage 4 masters, both for the UK here, which is based on the same format. And we also have an Irish masters as well, because we do some projects in Ireland. So this is specifically for Irish projects. So
Okay. There's so many questions to ask just looking at that first set of screens. But I guess, firstly, how do you keep a track of what you've got in your masters and what's there for yourself and your architects to pick from when they're starting a project off?
So to start off, Ruth and I have got our special Office Master folder here. So we have a master tracker. And in this master tracker, we keep a list of all the masters that we have at different stages. So we have our stage 4, our stage 3, and our stage 2. So every time we add a master to it, it adds it into the list. So at the moment, you can see with all the systems through all our works packages, we've got 231 Office Masters set up between all the different systems. So we just keep a track of that. And then when it comes to the actual spec writing itself, we call it a T-sheet crib sheet file. So this is it here. And this is mapped between our Keynote file in Revit, NBS Chorus, so that all the systems have the exact same T-sheet codes linked between it. So we'd say if an architect is starting off and they're working on the 22 series package, which is internal wall systems, they will search down through this and they'll get to the 22 section, which is this one here, internal walls. So if they've got a frame partition system, gypsum board, they know that they use any of these codes here, and as I said, they're linked across to the Keynote file for associating with Revit. What it is, there's the system code. These are the levels of responsibility. So D means it's descriptive or performance-based. C means what level it is of responsibility, and Ruth will talk about that later. And then if it has a 4 in the first column, it means it has a stage 4 masters. If it has a 3, it has a stage 3 masters. And if it has a 2, it means it has a stage 2 outline masters.
Okay, I've got lots of questions already.
Okay.
So looking on you talked about the 22, is that the old CISFB sort of package
Yes,
codes?
we follow the CISFB package codes. That's what we use to set up all our project specifications.
So you've got everything relevant to internal walls there in that sort of 22 category, and that goes from cubicle systems through to gypsum board partition
Rigid
systems.
sheets, yeah. So
And then on the left-hand side, you've got what looks a bit like a car registration number with like 3 letters and the numbers. Can you tell me how that works?
These are the T-sheet codes. So when we set up each project to make sure that there's consistency across the whole practice, all these codes are identical no matter what project that you work on when you're selecting your systems. And these, again, are linked to our Revit file as well. So when you're associating through your Keynote file in Revit, when you're tagging a system or tagging a product, that the exact same code lives in cores as well. So there's always consistency and compatibility across the whole range, no matter what system.
Do a telephone or a Teams message conversation, you can just say PCS 102, and it's a nice way of referring to the specific system.
Yes.
I think when we did the webinar 3-4 years ago, there was quite a lot of interest in that. And I seem to remember that in the support forum, we uploaded an Excel file that had some of the coding that you and another 4 or 5 practices tended to use for that. So we will, if anyone's interested in that, we can pop something in the chat and we'll share that link. Moving across to Ruth now, and I see in advance, Ruth, you've shared what looks to be a pretty complex design responsibility matrix. So is it possible to talk us through that and how it relates back to the project spec that's been put together from the masters and how it all ties together?
Sure thing. This is our AHMM default project design responsibility matrix, which we use as a tool to minimise ambiguity by determining the level of input required by each party and what responsibility they have. So our particular template defines the responsibility, whether it's a primary, secondary or tertiary responsibility. It also sets out the level of specification, effectively the CDP level for each element. So taking this, our template is defined by project team at the top, which lists all the typical members of the design team prior to contract, and then after contract we have the principal contractor and their trade specialist subcontractors. We also split the DRM into administrative management work, so non-design work, talking about project leadership, design team responsibilities, and we also then split it into design work, so architectural elements, structural elements, MEP, sustainability. And as you can see on this particular page, the levels of specification are shown in this column here. We use the JCT levels of specification to determine the level of contractor responsibility and therefore the specification type required, whether it's a prescriptive or a descriptive specification. Level A, if I scroll to the top, we do give a small definition on the main matrix, but we also have, we do have a more detailed explanation for what each level means. Effectively, level A means that there's no responsibility for the contractor, so therefore a prescriptive specification would be required. Levels B through to D are various scales to which the contractor takes responsibility, and then level E would be full contractor design, where we would provide a descriptive specification or more of a performance spec.
Yeah. And is it possible to zoom in on a few of the bits of the design responsibility matrix and just
Of course.
sort of
I'm going to zoom
highlight one or two of
into,
those points?
let's zoom into roofs. Or partitions, because Patrick's just talked about partitions. So is that a bit clearer?
Yeah.
Okay, so as the Office Masters are split into packages, we've also tried to define elements within the matrix by packages. So you can see 22 series there. This is 20. That's 21. 22 series internal walls. And this, you can't now see the architect at the top. The design team, each element is classified whether it's a primary or secondary responsibilities. You obviously might have shared secondary responsibility for various different members. And then the level is down the side here. So for internal walls, the architect would take primary responsibility in this particular project, and the level of contractor responsibility would be level C. What you also can see on this extract is that we use the DRM to define the levels of detail and the level of information that's contained within the model to ensure we're using our template to do as much work as possible to ensure that there's no scope gaps. And we do find that this is it looks complicated, it is very detailed, but getting it arranged and in the appointment as early as we possibly can helps to avoid those scope gaps and problems later on in the project.
So if you're coming together with a structural engineering firm that's obviously not AHMM, one of the first things you'll do is sit here with this responsibility matrix and just agree where you've got the primary responsibility, where the structural engineering consultant has, and you
Exactly.
all know the scope and the rules before you start the design.
Exactly. And it's important to get this agreed prior to going into tender so that the contractor, when they come on board, is also aware who has taken responsibility for different elements of the project and therefore what they are expecting from the specification, whether they're going to get a descriptive or a prescriptive specification.
And which sort of areas do you ever get disagreement about, whether sort of a pushback in terms of, or do you tend to just sit down and everyone says, yes, that looks sensible, let's get on with it?
That would be the perfect world, wouldn't it? But no, there's always some negotiation. Typically, things like waterproofing, below ground waterproofing, will require some level of negotiation between ourselves and the structural engineer. That will depend on foundation type, whether there's a basement, all sorts of factors. It's not an exact science. It requires negotiation and openness with the design team at the beginning of the project.
Yeah, and that's the responsibility between the consultants. When it comes down to contractor design package, I imagine that can be different on every project depending on the procurement the client wants to follow.
It can be. On the screen at the moment is the typical DRM, the typical design and build contract. So this is what we would expect the contractor to do once they are in contract with the client.
Yeah.
And this doesn't really change. This is what we would expect.
And then if you're getting novated across the work for the main contractor, I imagine it's absolutely critical to go into that contractual arrangement being clear on where your responsibilities are. as well.
Exactly. It's really fundamental to get this embedded within the appointment and make sure that there's just no disagreements down the road. It's a lovely project to work on.
Yeah, and again, going back just to the absolute basics here that Patrick was shown, having that letter D for descriptive or the letter P for prescriptive at the top of the specification just allows real clarity in terms of how the specification lines up with the design responsibility matrix.
Exactly. So although it's not shown on the DRM, the crib sheet tells the architect whether it's an A, B, or C, D or E level of spec, and then an A would be a prescriptive specification for us. Everything else would be a descriptive specification. And the P and the D, appreciate there's some P's on the screen as well, but ignore those. They're shown in the crib sheet so people can find the relevant system to use. And then it's also shown within NBS Chorus. So they're making sure that they're using the right one and they understand to what detail they need to write their specification.
And when it's P for prescriptive, I guess you're taking full design responsibility down to the manufacturer product. It's this flooring with this underlay with these fasteners. Whereas descriptive could be it must have a warranty for 15 years and the following slip resistance.
Exactly. It will provide all the performance data that the contractor needs to make a alternative selection should they wish. But as Patrick showed, we do let them know the basis of our design so that they understand how we have developed the design to the point that they tender.
Yeah. And is it possible to show how the codes are used in in your drawings and your schedules using Revit so that everything aligns to the spec?
Sure thing. I will open Revit.
Can you show how all the information connects together now, please?
Sure thing. We use the NBS plugin to associate system specifications into the model. Various reasons for doing that. One, it might be a deliverable on the project. That specification data must be embedded within the model. And secondly, we use it as a management tool to ensure that there's no conflict between the specification and the drawings. So if I take, for example, this floor tiling system, I've already gone into NBS in the plugin and brought in the right project that I'm working on. If I now search for floor tiling system, there it is. I can now associate this with the model. I get the green, you're good to go bar at the bottom. And if I now go into the properties of this particular element, we can now see that the uniclass data, the code, and the uniclass title has been brought across from NBS Chorus. The data has been pushed through. What's also been pushed through is the NBS Chorus and the suffix. So the chorus, the prefix we use to define if it's a prescriptive or a descriptive specification, and then the suffix contains our T-sheet codes. And as I mentioned, we use it for management purposes. So if I go in, we can create schedules directly from Revit, which looks at the NBS information that we've brought in, so all of the data that we've associated to the model. And if I go down to floors, you'll see that floor 102, that's the keynote. That matches the suffix that we've brought in from NBS. That's the uniclass code, and that's the uniclass title. So we can use this as in a similar way that we use the summary sheet from NBS. It's good to ensure that there's no discrepancy between the model and the specification. And we found the NBS plugin hugely helpful for doing this level of checking.
Yeah, no, really, really good to see. Really good to see. Okay, and then the next thing that we'll maybe move to is some of the more recent functionality that we've brought in the last 12, 18 months. I know AHMM have been one of like 7 or 8 practices that have helped us develop Chorus from just like sketches on the whiteboard 5 or 6 years ago. You've always been fantastic sort of suggestion how we implement functionality. Now in the Chorus Premium offer, we've got detailed revisions, which doesn't just say this clause has changed when you print it out, but specifically how each sort of line has changed. Can you show an example of how you've used that, please, Ruth?
Yeah, of course. So I'm going to just save that, make sure I don't lose anything. I'm going to have a look at the toilet project that we've worked on. Patrick made some changes to this earlier, as shown. I'm going to publish this now and show you what the functionality looks like. So go to Actions, Publish. We're grouping systems by code, and I'm going to output to PDF. A specification has already been issued, and we're going to compare to this earlier draft. But I'm going to say that I want to include detailed revisions, and I'll show you what that looks like. So I'll click that, say Next. For this particular example, I'm not going to save, but because we've compared it to a previous publication, all of the data has been translated across from that. So it's important to make sure you update the revision and if the suitability code has changed. And you would say draft for stage 4 information exchange. I'm going to say Next. We have our own style sheet, so it's important that that's highlighted, and then say Publish. Perfect. And now the contents page will tell anyone quickly if a section has been revised, or if it's been added, or if it's something that's been deleted. So that's high level revisions. And then as you move down, you'll be able to see that these are all the tracked changes. So it will show all the elements that have been deleted, bits that have been included, and where amendments have been made to text. And we're finding this is really useful internally, so that we can keep track of what's been changed. But we tend not to issue detailed revisions out of the office. We use the high-level revision, but then if there's ever a query, we know exactly what has been amended in the specification and at what point.
Yeah, so you're sort of using it for internal auditing.
Exactly.
In case you have to see what's happened. Yeah.
Or in case there's a query, we're able to answer any RFIs that have come back, because we can show exactly what's been changed.
Yeah, no, really good to see. Okay, so jumping across to Patrick, and we'll just keep on looking at some of the latest functionality. The bit I would like to look at now is what we're calling variables. And I know this is something that you've requested for a while. Patrick's been live now for a few months. Like, how are you using the variables functionality?
Well, we find the variables, the functionality of it really, really useful, because some stages during during the design, a previous collaborator on the design team, a consultant, they may have, maybe only procured up to stage 2, stage 3, and then, there may be a new consultant on board. They might call their documents quite something different. So we have our own set of variables. So we have got, NBS have got their own default ones, and then we've got our own set up. What the employer is, architect is architect, contractor is contractor. Here we've one that we've added in, which is the AESS report, which is the Architecture Exposed Structural Steel Visual Quality Benchmark report. So instead of writing that in several times, what you can do is, I'm just going to use this as an example. So if you have a panel cubicle system, we'll just say that this finish of it was, the steel was exposed or something. So we could add in here, board is this, and then we can add in steel. And then instead of writing that all the time, you just put in AESS, and then that then is very useful to put in terms that could be quite long. The other advantage that it has as well is that if, for instance, we had changed and say in all the contracts the employer was not called the employer, he was called the client. So what you could do is we can go in here, we can edit the variable, and instead of employer, we call him client. And that means that just everywhere now that this variable is placed within any of the specifications, instead of saying employer, which it did previously, it'll now say client when it's exported. So it's a really fast way to change any of the terms that is required. So
So if
we've
you
found
use
really,
that 40 or 50 times across the spec,
yeah,
set aside for the client, submit
yeah,
to the client, that's now going to then change from,
yeah. The same here. So
yeah,
we're not the employment agents anymore, it's the client. So again, swift changes, really, really helpful. Really helpful.
yeah. I was speaking to actually Nicky from our training team this morning. He was saying he'd seen these variables used in the printed output as well in the template, where they had maybe half a page of legal introduction to say that once, and then across the project it
Yeah,
gets used in every single specification as a bit of a preamble to the technical content. But yeah, it's great to see you using it there throughout your masters and your projects. And what about the search across projects? You've got loads of projects, loads of masters. Is that coming in handy?
yeah, it is. So we'd say we've made a change to maybe it's something has been updated, or we found maybe it's something that was a typo within a project. So we would search for a specific word. So if I type in the word intumescent and then search, it searches for the term all across the whole project. So as you can see now, it's found 4,847 references in the projects and 1,115 references. So if I go through it, if I look at SS, let's say it's in our UK Masters, I can go in and quickly find, a, the clause that I need to amend or whatever. So then we would make that clause. Here it is. So maybe we'd make the clause. We'd say to add in another specific British standard here. So we'll say, and to BSEN 12944 part 5, we'll say, which is, environmental corrosion category. So there might be something within that clause that is referenceable back to this system. So, and then what we would do then is we would make a publication. So if I go back in here, what I will do is I will use this stage 4 that we did for the presentation, and I'll make an amendment. We'll say to the Dorset. So here's the Dorset system. Let's go in, and I'm going to add in the fire performance clause into this. So here's the fire performance clause. Let me add it in. So I'll add that in and save it. So what we found is that a lot of the time, the reaction to fire classification, we didn't think in our masters it was detailed enough. So then what we would do is we would come in and we would amend it. So I would add a new row. So as you can see now, I've amended it so that it's a Class B reference for fire performing door sets and circulation spaces. We have a Class C, or better reference, for other rooms, including garages. And then a Class D references for small rooms of maximum internal floor area. And the floor area would be, we'll say, 4 square meters. So it's really, really good to do that. So what we would do then is we would send out an email that looks like this, which would highlight the specification team, and we've made a change to the fire performance clause within the door sets. And then there would be an attachment to that. We would send out to which projects we think it's applicable to at the moment. Then we would give a summary of why it's changed, and then we would highlight the change where they need to add the clauses in. So as you can see, we've made the changes and we've highlighted what they are. And that's how we would push that out across the practice to certain teams, to we know that this might affect the way that you reference projects, and how or this change in the masters is applicable to your project.
Yeah, oh, that's really good. I love the email as well. Yeah, that's really, really good to see. Thank you, Patrick. And I know you've seen the work that we've currently got underway in development, which will allow you to push notifications out within Chorus itself. Hoping to get that live in the next month or two, but that should really nicely complement these sort of internal email bulletins that you're all also doing, which really look nice.
Great.
And maybe just a final question to finish off, not necessarily around functionality, just in terms of, we've had a few webinars on sustainability recently. We're trying to get as much information off manufacturers. We've done the work with BCIS. What are you doing in terms of a practice, in terms of integration of sustainability requirements in your specifications?
Well, Stephen, we've written our own set of masters. So this is the first project that we've used this on. So when I go in here, we've got a set of masters set up for each of our work packages. So within the first section, we have, whether it's BREEAM or LEED, WELL, NABERS, you know. So we would have our table in here, and our table would relate to, we'll say, the BREEAM requirements and the credits that are looked for, what the credit is, and the applicable package number. And then below we have detailed information about what each credit is. So we've got HEA, O2, volatile compound emissions, what the reference is towards it, and then the tables about, you know, interior paints and coating, the maximum quantities, wood base, the maximum quantities. So, and we do that all throughout the whole of the specification. Here we are into the well requirements as well. If I go down here, these are our well requirements and the packages that it's linked to. So, you know, really, really useful information to have. And then when we go into an actual product itself for a specification, so if we go into, we were looking at the sanitary accommodation there. So when we go in, there's just a small table confirming what the material is and, you know, a brief to it. So the contractor knows that these are the credits that are associated with this package for BREEAM, and we'll say for WELL. And then we have a table here about, you know, our carbon targets, so we can actually put in the amount of embodied carbon that is applicable for this whole package. So, you know, it could be 98 CO2e per meter squared kilograms. So it's just a way to do that. And then as they build a specification, if we have the 74 package, when it's all done up, the architect selects this, he copies it to his clipboard. It goes back into a 74 specification. He places it within there. And then when he comes to publishing it, I'll do this very quickly. I won't do a revision. I won't save it. I won't put in any information. So then when it does get published, it's attached to the whole package.
Yeah.
So all the content that we have in, and if you go down, they know now that all this is associated with that package. So that's how we manage our specification information at the moment.
Yeah, I think that could almost be a webinar in itself. We could maybe do it jointly with BRE. And I know we've talked to the BRE team a few times about how best to integrate BREEAM into specifications, but it looks as if you've got a sort of system in place. I guess that initial high-level document is for D&B contracts to inform the contractor main contract time.
Yes.
This is the client's expectation around the sustainable outcomes, and then you break that down into package level when it gets into the technical design.
Precisely.
Yeah, really good to see. Well, thank you both today, Patrick and Ruth. If you're watching the webinar today, we've probably edited that down a little bit to make sure we get into the full hour, but we'll probably play out the sort of a fuller version as well on the website, so keep an eye out for that as well. But thanks very much for your time today.
You're
Thank
welcome,
you.
Stephen. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so just to sort of wrap up the webinar, that last item there that Patrick was showing around how you change a master and then notify your colleagues, that's functionality that we're working on right now. So if you look here, this is our development server. And if I just go into this particular clause here, you'll notice on the right-hand side, working in the master's environment, there's master's notes. And as a specification writer that's updating the masters for your office, as you change things here, you can then put a note which will go automatically through to your colleagues. So you can see here that I've said our sustainability standards have been reviewed and we're dropping the value of 30 kilograms of carbon down to 25. So there's the change that I've made. Here, put a bit of commentary in there, and I've said that this is maybe not critical on every project, but it's important for people to read. So as I've made changes to the master, so in fact, if I come in here and you see at the point of save, you get prompted, would you like to write a master note? And then that gets pushed through and goes into the update functionality. So you get updated from NBS and updated from the masters in that same window. So watch out for that functionality coming very soon. And that brings the webinar to an end. It's been a full webinar today, taking up the full hour. Many thanks to Peter from Dulux. Many thanks to Ruth and Patrick from AHMM. If you'd like to know any more from NBS, please pop in a chat. Pop things in the chat window to learn more about Chorus, the nbs.com/Chorus. And remember, you can see the different levels, Chorus, Chorus Pro, and Chorus Premium. And we hardly talked about it today, but to learn more about NBS Source for all the manufacturer product specifications, nbs.com/source. Or just go to Google and search for the NBS Chorus or NBS Source. And of course, you can get in touch with us by email as well, info@thenbs.com. So thank you very much, and bye-bye.